What's up, everybody? So today I want to talk to you guys about Showtime at the Apollo. Was I on it? Was I not on it? All right, let's get to it. For those of you who don't know what Showtime at the Apollo is, basically it's a talent show that's out of the legendary Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York. Now, I went to audition for this, but what I wound up auditioning for wasn't the televised version of this show. It was actually the amateur night version of this show, or as they call it, the real Apollo. I needed that audience, that televised audience, to be the judges. So for those of you who aren't familiar with how this show works, basically it's a talent show, not too different from American Idol, Pop Idol, Star Search, The Gong Show, this kind of stuff. But it has a unique Black American twist to the judging system. For a show like this, the live audience judges the winner. If they don't like you, they start to boo you. And then a guy dressed up in a very colorful outfit with a cane comes and removes you from the stage. If people like you, then it goes down to one of those like hand over the head cheer for whoever is the loudest that you want to win. So knowing this takes a certain level of craziness and courage, I guess, to put yourself in a position like that. As a little kid, we watched this after Saturday Night Live all the time. We couldn't wait for it to come on. So me auditioning and going into something like this, I know what I'm getting myself into. Now, I'm from Ohio, so I took a train from Alliance, Ohio, all the way to Manhattan. And then from Manhattan by gypsy cab to Harlem, 125th Street, but I stayed at the Y. And then from there, walking over to the theater and whatever. For those of you who don't know, I worked on cruise ships for 21 years. After my second contract, in fact, this was shortly after I did the video where I got my shirt off. So once I was off the ship, I auditioned for this thing. I got it. I got the call. It's like, okay, on such and such a date, I think it was December something, you can come back and then do the show. And this is where things get really interesting. So people look forward to booing you off the stage on this show. That is a tried and true tradition. It's kind of like people that only watch NASCAR for the crashes. People only watch Apollo to see who gets booed off the stage. Because the winner is basically determined by the audience cheering, I know going up there all by myself, I have virtually no chance of winning. It's like a 1% chance of winning this thing. Unlike the TV audience, the amateur night audience is whoever you bring. We have a meeting, then we have the rehearsal, and then we have the show later that night. I'm competing against little kids, people my age, just the wide spectrum of a bunch of different kinds of talent. On the TV show, they usually lump people together within whatever their category is. Like it'll be all the singers against each other, instrumentalists or novelty acts against each other, jugglers, this kind of thing. But the amateur night, the raw, real Apollo, it's everybody against everybody. So showing up, I was 25 at the time, and I'm competing against some 8-year-old girl. There's like some teenage dance troupe, and there's some other girl, she's like 12 years old, she's a singer. I know now that I just lost that 1%. I have a 100% chance of not winning this thing, but I'm not really concerned with winning it anyway. Mainly, I want to get discovered. This is a legendary theater in Harlem, New York, doing a legendary show. If hopefully some people can show up that'll see it and say, you know what, let's make a list of these acts. They got something that we can sell, something we can work with. So when I first get there to meet all the acts I'm going to be competing against, I kind of buddy up with this guy. If you guys ever seen that movie Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme, he like teams up with Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds, and they kind of buddy up. They know they got to compete against each other, but they're also studying the other acts to see what's what. So we get there, and everybody, in the back of everybody's mind, we're just wondering, like, who's going to get booed off the stage? It's going to happen to somebody. We know this. So all the acts were fantastic. I'm talking like amazing levels of talent. We're like, man, Like I thought that they'd pick somebody that they know is gonna get booed off the stage just to like pump that thing up. But nah, man, everybody was amazing. And there was something like 12 different acts. I think maybe 3 or 4 of them used like a tape. It was with a live band. I did Summertime. I just wrote out some sheet music, gave it to the band. To this day, best band I've ever worked and played with in my life. Hands down. They were fantastic. They had this giant book of music, and they looked through one song that this girl wanted to do and was like, oh yeah, that one. Put the book away and learned from memory, all the stuff, even the stuff that I wrote out to give to them. Come showtime, they had it all learned. I was like, oh my God, this band is... I'm 2 contracts deep on a cruise ship, so I'm familiar with getting music, rehearsing it, and then doing it. But I mean, these guys, man, it was unbelievable that how fast it all came together. So the whole thing was just flat out amazing how well it all came together. 12 amazing acts. This is incredible. Some of the acts was a duo, some was a trio, so there was probably 15, 16 of us, you know? So during the sound check, everybody's just sizing everybody up to see who's what. It's like, you know, and this guy comes out, man. And this dude sounds just like R. Kelly. I know R. Kelly now, but like back in the day, like, I mean, this dude, dare I say, maybe he sounded a little bit better than R. Kelly, because you always kind of like, people don't sound as good live as they do like on the recordings, but this dude's voice was incredible. I mean, he was just like larger than life vocal ability. Amazing. We heard him warming up and stuff. Man, we were just like, here come R. Kelly. We was just calling him R. Kelly. Me and the dude that I buddied up with, we're just like getting goosebumps listening to this dude warm up and practice, you know? And he goes to rehearse with the band, and he sounded just like R. Kelly in the wrong key. The dude was tone deaf. I'm sure that when he was singing with his tape recorder, whatever, he sounded fine, but when he went to go sing with the band, he could not find his pitch. Now, this is in the rehearsal. So the band stops, they give him his note, he starts out, 2 seconds later, he just drifts all over the place, man. We're just like, it's like the peacock has no feathers, man. You know what I'm saying? Because this dude was real cocky backstage. Just, he was kind of annoying, to be honest. But, you know, his voice was so crazy. We were just like, oh, man, you know, this, we about to do it again, yo. Like in The Lion King, where it's like, ooh, Mufasa. Ooh, you know, like one of these kind of things. But my man could not sing on pitch. The band was modulating, trying to find him, to find where his voice would settle. And we were like, that's the guy. That's going to be the one. Let's take a break, y'all. During the rehearsal, there's this 12-year-old girl. Her rehearsal took 2 hours for her to get through this one song. She's a kid. She's got a good voice, but you can tell she's nervous in the whole bit, and they get her through it. Her performance later, it was a little shaky, but it was good. She brought like 200 of her relatives there. So we knew she had this thing on lock. Now, knowing that I have absolutely no chance of winning this thing, at best I want to get discovered. You know what I'm saying? So call it fate, destiny, whatever. I just happened to be in the right position where these people came in, this man and woman couple. They came in, they walked right up to this little girl. They gave her a card and said, if you win, call us. And they left. They didn't even watch the show. They didn't care about any of the other acts. Of course, here's this little kid singer. They want to cash in on that, man. And my heart just fell flat into my stomach, man. It was, the whole thing kind of felt like a complete waste of time, because I wasn't going to be on TV. I'm not going to get discovered. I basically have no money. I had like $150 left. In fact, I was so broke, I didn't even have enough money to win it. If I would have won, I think it was like a $500 prize if you win, I wouldn't have had enough money to take the Amtrak back there to even compete again, because it was like a month after that. You know, it was like once a month they'd have like the show. So at the very least, after I heard them say that, my heart sank, and I was like, you know what? There's such a tradition with the Apollo, and that's always such a great thing that you can put on a resume. You guys have been asking me to say more about myself and stuff I've done and whatnot. So put together a video like this. But I figured, you know what, maybe one of these people that I'm competing with and against, who knows, maybe someday they'll be like, man, there was that saxophone player up at such and such and whatever. So you're still out there doing what it is that you love and making contacts and meeting new people and the whole bit. So let's get to the good stuff. Let's get back to R. Kelly, right? So in the green room, it's basically like this basement, and there's this little stairwell. It's probably like 8 steps. And when the show starts, everybody piles on those stairs. And then the first act goes on, and you can't see anything. So you're just like sitting there trying to listen to hear what the audience is going to do. And they have it mic'd up in such a way to where you can hear it, but everybody just piles on the steps. And then you just wait like 5 seconds after somebody starts. And then everybody's heart is like, oh, they did all right, you know, so they're going to make it. So everybody just leaves and wait for the next act to come up, you know. So honestly, in our hearts, you don't want anybody to get booed off the stage when you are a performer for something like this. It's both hilarious and terrifying at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's piled up on these steps, just like leaning over each other and whatnot, you know. My man goes out, he starts singing, and everybody's like, yeah. And we hear this weird drop in the audience. And we're like, oh no, it's coming. Then all of a sudden you just hear, boo. And we're just down there like, oh no. I mean, it's funny, but it's like sad. I mean, this cat could have came from anywhere. He could have came from like northern Canada. He could have came from California, Mexico, anywhere, man. And just to come all the way there and get booed off the stage. Now, let me tell you about, I can't remember her name. I wish I could. But the lady who was basically running the whole program, she was straight up New York cold. You ever see these movies where people are auditioning and there's like next plays, next, like in Spider-Man, when Mary Jane shows up and that other girl's doing her part, it's like, oh, sorry, babe. Thought you got the call. Oh, we're so sorry. It was exactly one of those, only like a black woman version of that. Right before we're about to go on and perform for Showtime, she comes out and she tells us, hey, don't forget to rub the log. The log is this piece of wood. It's like a piece of tree that's set up there where the audience can see it. So when you go out, you got to rub that log. If you don't rub that log, you might as well just keep going because you almost can't save it. If you don't rub that log, you are automatically getting booed. So people get nervous. They run out and don't touch that log. Even if you start walking out, you better come back and hit that log. If you don't, I just stared right at that log before it was my time. Because even before you went out, she was like, don't forget to touch that log. So I went out, I looked right at the audience, gave him one of them cheeky like, touch the log, you go out and you do your bit. But after that, she said, if your act isn't what you expected it to be, and it just so happens that you get booed off the stage, you are free to leave the building. And the cold-blooded part about it is that they left the door open on the other side. So it was like, you just get booed, you did all of that, and you can just go home. It's not like you got a certificate afterwards and you got some refreshments, come back and take a picture afterwards with everybody. None of that. You are just free to go home. You could have just parked your car right out there, got booed, and just drove home. I mean, it was just straight up cold-blooded, but it's real. Like, that's the kind of thing that just separates that amateur night Apollo from the Showtime thing, with it all just everybody. It comes down to my turn. I touch that log. I look at the band. So before I started playing, some girl in the audience was like, why is shirt so tight? Because people interact with you like this during this show, man. It's a real, you know, get ready for some steel cojones kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So I go out, I do my song. I got this whole thing. And it goes great, man. The people were almost cheering too loud for me, but they know they got to let their girl win. You know what I'm saying? So it was only the one guy that didn't get to come back. He was just, we didn't see him anymore after that. You know, I guess, yeah, I don't know what happened to R. Kelly up in here. So we do the thing with the head and the little girl wins. And, you know, we all just kind of jet after that. But that was a fantastic learning experience for me. I got a chance to hit up one of the most legendary theaters on planet Earth as far as I'm concerned. Any kind of African American, Black American famous act you have ever heard of, I guarantee you they came through that theater in some way or another. Now, maybe not during the Apollo talent show, but just as an act putting on a show in New York and Harlem, I can promise you, man, they went through that theater. And it's a lot smaller than what you see on that panoramic thing on TV, so we were just like, this is it? It's small, but working with that band, that camaraderie that I had with the acts, man, that was a beautiful thing. So thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. See ya.